on here will be out. If you can sign on to Schoology and go to this, it is under the summer sessions. Because there are mostly, what I've done on here are links to help you understand and gather the knowledge to get published. All right, so preparing your research for publication, the first thing I'm going to say to you is it's easier than you think. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, publication, that's like something that happens to old people who have been professors for 40 years. And that's not true, especially in today's climate. What they're doing is they're taking a lot of high school students and publishing them, and that is on the rise, so there's so many different places out there where you can get published. The first thing that you need to do is understand that when you write for publication in a science magazine, you don't need to write a big flowery piece and you don't need to rewrite what you've already done. What you're going to be publishing is the work that you're already working on. So if you've done a lab report, basically you're going to publish that lab report, you're just going to hone your writing a little bit and have somebody look over it. One of the most important things you need to do is keep clear notes, because your notes are going to turn into your reports, are going to turn into your methodology, or it's going to turn into something that you can submit for publication. Many of the journals that I read in my classes are just simply people who are going to school and doing research projects and then publishing those research projects. So it's nothing more than that. So it's not some big, scary thing. It's simply publishing what you've already done. This right here is a picture of Darwin's notes. We all know who Darwin is, and we all know that he published stuff. So what he did was he took his notes, which that's a really cool picture. He took his notes that he was writing on the Galapagos about the evolution of all these animals, and he published that. I also have a note here, use vocabulary specific to your area of research. Along with that, read. The more that you read publications, especially if you go in and read publications done by high school students, you're going to see what is trending, you're going to see what type of vocabulary is used, you're going to see how it is formatted, and that will give you a better idea. There's a thin line between reading too much so that your mind starts to think like other people and then you're pulling their ideas versus reading it to see, okay, this is what I need to do and I need to mimic that to a certain extent. All right, one of the most important things, I'm sure you've heard your English teachers always say, is you need to understand your audience. Depending on what journal you're writing for. The journals that I have up here, I have a bunch of links, and the journals that I have up here extend from the very simplistic, hey, I'm a cool science kid and I want to write in a science magazine, which is even a blog type of thing, to a very scientific journal where not only are you going to have high school students reading it, but you're going to have college students and scientists reading it. So you have to know your audience and you have to use your language to be appropriate to that audience. Are you writing a blog for high school students, or are you writing an article that may be reviewed by somebody in the scientific world? Clear and concise. I find that usually scientists are very clear and concise. When you're writing a lab report, you don't use too many words, so you already are there. But again, you don't want to be verbose, you don't want to be too wordy. One of the biggest things that I find also with helping scientists write, you need to make sure that you can take what you know, that knowledge you've been engrossing for months, and put it into terms that somebody else can understand. So you've been working on your methodology for months, maybe a year, and you have all this terminology and you have all these things and you know what you're doing. You have to transfer that to information that your audience can grasp, that your audience can understand, because they haven't been immersed in it as much as you. Visuals. Humans are visual creatures. No matter how much you like to read, the written word is great. We are visual creatures. Some of the information on publications said you should have at least 6 to 8 visuals, graphs, and diagrams, visuals, so that you can take the information and turn it into something that the eye can see quickly. Remember when Eric Miller was giving his presentation yesterday, and he had that graph which had which drugs were most used? It was such a quick, easy way to look at it and say, okay, you can see where those drugs fall on that line, and who's using them and how many times they're being used. Visuals are very important. The human mind can only take in so much information per reading. You put a visual in there and it allows us to see it in a big picture, which really benefits the reader. All right, so here we go. Now I have a bunch of information up here, and you have access to this. There's information as to how do I go about preparing my manuscript to be published. The different types of categories. And this is interesting because you could actually do like a lab report, 3 printed pages. And submitting it. So you can submit to Science Mag, or you can simply just use that to gather information. And again, you have access to all of these. I'm going to go to this one, the middle there. This one is a really good resource to write like a scientist, how to communicate. So you have a multitude of different classes when you're in high school, and sometimes you go into your English classroom and you have to write a fiction piece or an analysis of literature, and you go into your social studies classroom and you've got to write a research paper on a historical event. Each one of the contents has a bit of a different style of writing. This will help you understand when you write like a scientist, you're going to write a little bit differently than you do in your English classroom or your social studies classroom. This will give you all the hints that you need. So read through this. Explain the reasoning and motivation. Your discussion is going to be very important when you write like a scientist. Alright, so on that page is a lot of helpful hints. Then moving on, the next, the next 3 pages are publication sources. There's a multitude of sources up here. Very simplistic to a little bit more this, these on this page are a little bit higher end. This one right here, the scientific student, I wanted to focus on that one for a little bit. So if you're just getting started, and you're a little nervous about getting published, try something simple at first. If you can get one thing published in a lower level periodical, it'll give you that confidence to keep going on. I would even suggest going to a blog. So if you go through here and you read some of these blogs, you're like, I can do this. That's not a big deal. You get one blog published, you're able to put that on your CV, then the next time you go to get published, you can say, I was published in Scientific Student. Not only is it going to give you confidence, it's going to give you a leg to stand on when you try to get published in a higher order magazine or higher order journal. So my recommendation is to start with baby steps. Oh, I'd really like to be published. Write a blog. When you go through here and you read these blogs, these are posted by students. They're not rocket science. Point up the big guy. They're not rocket science. They're written by students, and they're just blogs about the information that they're doing. So whatever research you're immersed in, write a blog about it, put it on here. These magazines and online magazines are looking for students to publish, so they want you just as badly as you want them. So they need your work. So put something out on here. You read over these. You know, they're good. I'm not saying they're not good, it's just they're not anything that you couldn't do. So start with a blog. So that one, Scientific Student, that's a little bit more simplistic. This one right here, this also has a guest blog and short articles. So you could go either way. Read through these what you can do. The other thing I'm going to say to you is when you have something that you feel is ready for publication, a couple things that you need to do. You need to have somebody else read over it. Have a couple people peer review it, your peers, teachers, I'm here, Ms. Shade, anybody who can review it for grammatical, sentence structure, syntax, all that kind of stuff. Then I would strongly suggest putting it out there to at least 5 different publications. The average is if you put it out there to about 10 publications, you'll get published once. So if you put it out to 1 publication and they turn you down, whether it's they don't want that at this time or they've had a lot of other articles on the subject matter, don't come back and say, that's it, I'm done, I can't get published. You've got to put it out there as many times as possible. Even if it's a blog, find at least 5 different places and put out the blog and keep going. Your first time around, you're probably going to put a lot out there and maybe get a lot of negatives coming back to you. Keep doing it. Many authors will put out their work many times until they get 1 publication. Once you get 1 publication going, the other publications look more highly at you. So that's why I said start with a blog, start with something easy, a very small article or a blog, because once you get your name out there and say I'm a published author, it's much easier to go on from there. This one right here is very interesting because this resource not only gives you the ability to publish on here, but also gives you information. And you can take a look through some of the published articles here. Another thing, notice this. A lot of these articles have more than one author. If you want to work in conjunction with somebody, it makes it a little bit easier to get published. So see if there's somebody else who's doing something similar to you are, or work together on the project. Are you guys working independently on your projects or group? Independently? Okay. So there is a plethora of publications out there for you to look over. What I find fascinating is when you publish something, people all around the world will be reading it, especially if it's an online blog. So these science magazines and stuff, they're not just for kids in Pennsylvania, they're not for students in the US. There's students all over the world who will be reading this. So think about it. It's going to be far-reaching. So when you publish, even if it's just a blog, other students are going to be reading that, and you'll be surprised at how things grow from there. So you publish once in a blog, and somebody comes back to you and says, I really like this. Can you form this into a bigger article and then publish it as an article? That happens more often than not as somebody takes their lab report, they turn it into a blog, or they turn it into a small article. Somebody sees it, they like what you're doing, and then they go further on to that. It's not as difficult as you think when you think, oh my gosh, being a published author, it's not that difficult. It's easy enough to get your stuff out there. Just don't give up trying to do that. Are any of you at the point now, and I know you've done science fairs, where you have something that you've worked on so long, you think, oh, I can take that and turn it into something I could possibly publish. And that could be something that you could work on maybe over the summer. If you want and you have something where you're trying to put it together, come to me and we'll take a look at some of the publications that you may be looking at to do. All of your publications, most all of your publications will have a template. So I have a couple templates from my area, my content area of leadership, where they send you a template and they say, take your report, take your information and put it into this template. And that's how they publish it. So we'll take a look at templates. You can take all of your information, put it into that template, and then submit it. So if you think that you're ready to do that, did you do science fair last year? If you've done science fair already, if you've gotten something ready for science fair, you should be able to have enough information to put something together to publish. So wouldn't that be cool? And again, it's just not as hard as you think. It sounds like it would be daunting, but it's not. Also, notice I used the background is Da Vinci, because Da Vinci combined science and art. He was a good writer, he was a good drawer, and he was a scientist. So it's really interesting that he combined all three of those things. Any questions? Are you, is that something that you would be setting for a goal for yourself this summer? Is the possibility of trying to get a publication done? You look really, look good on the resume on your CV. All right. And you have access to this? I see you guys were on this. Okay, so you do have access to it. All right. All right. Any other questions? Then take your time, look over all of those sites, pick out like 3 or 4 that you might find you want to submit your work to, and then I will be around. I can help you edit and look at your work and find the templates to put your reports into. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.